There is a really interesting overlap between fans of The Locked Tomb, Hannibal, and Murderbot. And I find this really fascinating because although there are parallels between any two of those texts, all three of them together make a kind of an odd combination. The Locked Tomb and Hannibal are both very gothic. Cannibalism is an obvious overlap in that particular Venn diagram. There is body horror. There's bones. They're both queer, but in a very gothic kind of a way. Meanwhile, The Locked Tomb and Murderbot are both sci-fi. They are very different in tone, but they are both very funny. There are some really similar themes. And they're both queer sci-fi that isn't romance. A lot of books that get marketed as queer sci-fi are romance novels, or else they're sci-fi with a very heavy romantic subplot. Whereas Murderbot and The Locked Tomb explore queerness in a very different kind of way, not just looking at it through the lens of romance. So a lot of readers who like sci-fi and want queer stories, but don't want to read romance, make up a shared market for both of these books. As for Murderbot and Hannibal, well, Murderbot and Will Graham are very similar characters in a lot of ways. Autistic coded, avoid eye contact, spend a lot of time dissociating, though in different ways. They both hate violence, but they are very good at violence. So they often find themselves in situations where they have to be violent, normally in defense of other people. And there are institutions in place that are forcing them to be violent. And this is very traumatizing to both of them. And perhaps because of this, they do both default to violence very quickly despite hating violence. You know, when Chio says to Will, there are means of influence other than violence, but violence is what you understand. That really makes me think of the end of Exit Strategy, when Murderbot is very much defaulting to a violent solution to the problem, and Mensa has to say, no, we are using a different strategy here. They're both also very sarcastic. There are a lot of similarities between them. So I understand why people who love Hannibal would also love Murderbot. So each of those individual combinations makes sense, but bringing all three of them together does make a kind of a weird triad, and I find that really fascinating.